Last night, I was just thinking about Judaism and studies, and all of a sudden I realized, the great mystics used to repeat Mishnah in the middle of the night. And for me, the most important Mishnah of a tractate is the first one. So I said to myself, it doesn't matter what Mishnah I take, I'll just take the first Mishnah of the first parak, of the first chapter of whatever I take. So I looked onto the computer where I have Mishnayot, and I saw a list. I saw Hulin, which I'm looking at a little bit, and there's some great mysticism in Hulin, and the whole idea of Hulin related to Kedusha, and related to Kodesh Kodeshim. And then I see right under that, because it's the head, Challah. And so, it's not a major Mishnah, but for some reason, I plugged into the Challah. And for me, I read the first Mishnah. And the first Mishnah, I'll repeat it now in Hebrew, but it says, Hamisha Devarim Hayivin Bahala. And then, so there's 5 things which are liable for Hala. And then it tells them, it's wheat, it's rye, it's wheat and barley and rye and spelt and something else. And so I go on and study, and then I looked in the English. And what I'm trying to say is this was that Mishnah. And one repeats the Mishnahs, Mishnayos. But then, so I didn't make much of it, and so I'm looking at it, and I say to myself, well, why is there 5 things? And and I'm thinking of the 5 strings of David's harp, thinking of the 5 words of the Shema that then go into Echad. Anyway, so I go to sleep, don't think much of it, and then I wake up this morning, and I'm doing these things about the 5 parts of the soul, and the letter Hey itself. So the 5 parts of the soul, but for me, there's a big difference between the Yehida and the Yahid. And Yahid is like a man without a Hey, without a physical component is a Yahid. And so I look at it for Chai also rather than Chaya. And so Chai and Yehida, Chai is 18, Yahid is 32, that becomes 50. So Yehida and Chaya become 60, but Chai and Yahid is 50. And that could be the 50th gate, which I've been working on, which is related to the number 5. And then I'm thinking, because yesterday it came about, I found a purse, a wallet, 2 days before I went out to the cemetery for my mother and father who died on the same day but 3 years apart. And then I'm doing this, and all of a sudden, I realize it was the 5th year of my mother's, the anniversary of her death. But here's the key. The person whose wallet I found was a woman named Woo. W-O-O. And I looked this up after, I found out what's the meaning of the word woo, but I didn't find this. And then yesterday or 2 days ago, I found another thing. And then I asked a Chinese woman, Wu means 5. 2 days before my mother's 5th anniversary of her death, 5 years of her death, I found and returned a wallet of a woman named Wu at a hospital here. where my mother used to frequent. I found and returned a wallet of a woman named Wu, which means 5. I found a wallet in the street near a restaurant on 70th, whatever, named Wu. Five. 5th year. And then yesterday when I opened up challah, which happens to be a mother's thing or a woman's thing, the first word of the Mishnah, which is the most important word. If you want to study a Mishnah, just study the first word. Everything is coagulated into the first word. Everything is represented in the first word. And the whole idea of the first word of challah, because it's a woman's act, it's a physical, in the physical world, is the word hamisha, 5. And that's the letter Hey. Hamisha, 5. Woo! That's what I found 2 days before I went to the cemetery. Then the day before, a man named Baba gave me a tennis racket in the park. Baba means father. Comes up to me, he says he's been seeing me. I've said this story, I think, here. And he gave me the tennis racket. That's the day before. Named Baba, from father. And the other was named Wu, 5 years of a woman's wallet that comes from mother. And then just today, because I'm not aware of this oat, this sign, which I call ayat, by the way. It's expressed much better in Arabic, because it's brought down in Islam, in normative Islam, that everything's an ayat from God. And this is an ayat. And it's coagulated in last night, me opening up a random Mishnah to challah. And the first word in challah is 5. Because I didn't dig deep enough into the original finding of the purse. I didn't dig deep enough into the symbolism involved and why it was shown it. And what the ayat really was. What the sign really was. And you know the word ayat, note, means letter, not only sign. And here's the letter Hey, which is one of my symbols. So I wrote a few words down. I just want to, 5th year. Another thing that happened when I was out at the cemetery. My brother's grave wasn't smoothed down yet and grassed after the headstone was put on. So I called up the office while I was out there and feeling pretty bad. Anyway, so I'm there and I'm talking, and I went to get little stones and this, and then all of a sudden I heard from the, go give the grave diggers $20. And when I did that, now that's a full yud. A full yud. This is 20. And the hay comes from this hamish. Hamisha. But today, this is the challah. And one takes a piece of challah and feeds the kohanim. And quite frankly, so they don't have to work. This was another video I saw of how people should support Torah scholars. They should support their own sons in Torah scholarship. So the sons don't have to work, be wage slaves. It's a view of money. So I just wanted to put this down a little bit about me finding just last night the Hamisha Devarim Hayivan Vin Bahala, 5 things that are liable for Hala. And that's after I found the 5th year, after Mother's 5th year, and how it's opened me. Because the 5th happens to be the Yehida, the 5th level of the soul coming from the bottom up. And in a certain sense, the Yehida is taken care of my mother after 5 years. And this comes from finding the purse of Wu, of a purse of a person named Wu. 5. 2 days before I go out there for the 5th anniversary of her death. That's a ayat from God, from Hashem.